Hello Facebook, hello YouTube. Apologies for being a few minutes late, and apologies if this setup has cut off the top of my head. I was just explaining to our friends on Instagram here, I am using my second stand, which has a little light and a little holder for the phones and everything, and it just fell over, so I had to sort of redo it because the little clip at the bottom was broken. I might try moving it back just a fraction. There's always something, isn't there? There's always like connectivity or the actual hardware or something. Anyway, today we are going to... Hi Devon Create, you managed to get back in time. Hi Nikki, very nice to see you. Hi Caroline. Oh no, oh my goodness, it's falling again. Right, I'm going to see clearly. Let me move this back a wee bit. Right, I'm hoping that that setup will be good. Sorry, now Instagram's gone a bit skew with. And I will just pick up, I'm actually using copies of the Good Menopause Guide to try and secure my phone stand. Maybe I need a few more copies piled up. One moment. There you go, I've got a nice big fat heavy book there. My goodness, if you could see behind the scenes. Not at all like it is on this morning, for example, where I was, when was I on this morning? What day are we? Wednesday. I was there on Monday, wasn't I? Yeah, talking hangover remedies. Did you see that? I'm actually going to pop up a little clip that I have filmed for, I think it might be an Instagram reel actually, all about making that hangover remedy recipe, because it's so easy. It's an electrolyte drink. And it's really good at helping to rebalance and rehydrate all your electrolytes. Wine Wednesday, yes. No wine this morning. There was some wine last night. Did go out with some friends last night. Popped a little picture on my Instagram stories, and as a result, I went running this morning to, oh dear, something else dropped. No, hopefully not. And actually, going out this morning really reminded me why we need to have this conversation today, because today we're going to talk a lot about hay fever. And if you're like me, this may be the season when you are really beginning to suffer with coughs, and not coughs so much, but sniffles and sneezes and itchy eyes. Gosh, my eyes at the moment. I'm out there and I'm wearing my sunglasses all the time actually, because sunglasses for your eyes are really good. They provide that physical shield, that kind of barrier to keep the pollen out of our eyes. But oh my goodness, it's not good. So I'm going to be joined with Emma Davies, who we've chatted with before, brilliant nutritionist, so much to say on this subject. And in fact, I did have, let me just get, I've fallen over my supplements. I'm going to get everything organised and then we're going to chat to Emma. So I do have some very interesting supplements to talk about. If I can get them. Here we go. So yeah, I've got all sorts of interesting things here that can help, because you know, yes, you can take antihistamines, and yes, you know, that's good, but actually if we can find a way nutritionally of kind of working with our body. I do apologise, Facebook, and YouTube, I'm kind of cut off here, but there is very little that I can do about that without risking my whole setup collapsing, so hopefully you can bear with me. Now I've got Lainey looking at Facebook today, so Lainey's part of my team here, so she can put links to things that I talk about. Obviously we can't link on Instagram, but what we do is we put things on Linktree, so if you go to my bio on Instagram, then if you click on that, then all these links will hopefully come up, or you can go to the mothership, which is lizearlewellbeing.com, and we've got lots of information on there, and there'll be lots of features about hay fever as well, and about natural remedies for that. So yeah, quick chat about my dress. Yeah, this is an Oliver Bonas dress, British brand. I've worn it before. I just think it's really cheerful and friendly. There is a link. I think, Lainey, you can pop a link on Facebook. There's a link if you are interested. And yes, I've got my little neroli flower necklace on. Last week, I think, at such an amazing discount. So just use neroli as your code if you want that on Liz Earle Jewellery. I think it saves about £45, so it's really definitely worth having. Thank you very much, honey, for putting the links up on there. So let me see whether we can get Emma. Yeah, it's a pretty dress, isn't it? I don't often wear yellow, but it's just, I don't know, it just feels right. It's spring-like, it's a cheerful colour, and it sits quite nicely against all the pink that I've got here in my studios. So Emma, hi Emma.
Hello, how are you, Liz?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm very glad that at the moment technology is working to connect us, because it's been a little bit of a morning.
And here, actually, it's so funny you had a problem with your stand, because mine fell over about 2 minutes before yours.
Typical, absolutely typical. We have to do it kind of on our sides or on our heads or something. I am so excited to talk to you because we had such a great chat last time and it just resonated so well with everybody. And we touched on a few things to do with allergies and histamine, and I really thought that, you know, because I really suffer, and I know I get lots and lots of comments and questions at this time of year always about, you know, what to take for hay fever, what to do to reduce allergies. And I know that you see in your clinics a lot of people as well coming in at this time of year. What's your kind of your starting point really with all of this, with somebody with bad hay fever?
Well, I do always find out whether it is just seasonal or whether it's perennial. So some people, we're seeing a lot more people suffering actually all year round, but that's a whole nother topic in itself. But if it's very much seasonal and they're not histamine intolerant the rest of the year, so that, as you've talked about, I know.
Let's come on to that. I'd love to talk about histamine intolerance.
We'll talk more about
let's
histamine.
Do that.
But if we work out really that pollen or grass pollen or tree pollen is the problem, then we know where we're starting with. We know it's hay fever, and I talk a lot about the immune system with that client and how, because what a lot of people do is and we'll talk about therapeutic things that help with the symptoms, but I think what a lot of people are doing are suppressing the symptoms rather than looking into why they've either suddenly developed allergies or why they developed them as a child and they've got worse as they age. And you may know that particularly menopausal women have real trouble with an increase in allergies, and that's all to do with histamine and estrogen. So I take a big history with the client, even if they're a small child, and work out, did they have a C-section birth? Have they been on long-term antibiotics? And we start from there, and then we work.
So coming back to the gut, then those questions are all relating to gut health.
The gut, absolutely. The gut is absolutely key. We now know the gut is so key in immunity generally, and of course, allergies, whatever they are triggered by, are a problem with the immune system. It is a skewed immune system. It's an inappropriate response. You know, we shouldn't react to pollen. We shouldn't react to mold and pet dander. You know, it's such a shame, and there are various reasons behind that, why the immune system is being led or skewed more towards that inappropriate response.
Right. Because what's physically happening? What's making us sneeze? Why do we have this reaction of sneezing and itchy, runny eyes?
Yeah, well, it's important to realise there's our adaptive immune system is the immune system that adapts us to our environment. And what happens is there's in the adaptive immune system we have T and B cells, which are white immune cells, white blood cells that help us adapt to our environment so that we do respond in the appropriate way most of the time. So if a virus or an infection, we get infected with something, or a bacteria comes in, particularly the adaptive immune system will react to that. So there's the T helper cells as part of that adaptive immune system. There's two branches, the Th1 and the Th2, and I won't get technical, I promise. I did a bit last time. The Th1 system is actually there to protect us against things that get into our cells, so like COVID or a virus, or some bacteria that actually get into the cell.
T cells, really important, absolutely. I mean, many of us may have heard about that in relation to COVID. People, you know, you want to have that strong T cell reaction, don't you?
And the Th1 deal with things that get into the cell, and then the Th2 leg of those T helper cells is outside the cell. So it's things like viruses that don't actually get into the cell themselves. Sorry, not viruses, parasites that don't get into the cells, and other things. So the Th2 is what's the problem in organ transplants. You know, the body responds to that new organ that's been transplanted on the Th2 side of the immune system. So we want a balanced immune system, and we're primed to have a balanced immune system in the womb. Actually, even in pregnancy, the fetus the immune system is totally balanced between the Th1 and the Th2. But unfortunately, our world is getting a lot more toxic but also cleaner. So the world is getting dirtier and cleaner at the same time because we're much more sanitized in every way. And of course now with COVID, we're a little over-sanitized. We're all, using all these wipes and things the whole time. And yet there's more toxins. And so what's happening is we now know the Th2 side is becoming more people are balancing towards the Th2 side and reacting and overreacting to the toxins in our environments and things that shouldn't be causing an immune response, like pollen. So these allergies are all on the increase.
Right.
And a lot of that's to do with the toxins, the chemicals we're all exposed to, the herbicides and the pesticides. But also I think our gut and antibiotics do a very useful job, but they also unfortunately are messing with our guts to a degree. So
well, I'll definitely, after this, I'll certainly talk a little bit about gut health. I was talking about that on Monday, actually, and the importance of it. I was talking actually to a great British probiotic company called Microbes.
Oh, I saw. I loved
them.
Yeah,
isn't that interesting about using
I'm going to look them up.
the beneficial bacteria for cleaning the house, using household cleaners with probiotics.
Yeah. And I think that's what we're all going to have to do, is find more natural ways to maintain the sanitation. I'm not against a hygienic world, but I think unfortunately we're killing off.
Yeah. Well, if you want their liquids, these are the ones that I was talking about. It was the BioLive Revive.
Yes.
And the
I'm going to watch
BioLive.
the whole interview actually.
Do. And don't forget, Liz Loves at the moment gets you 20% off, but only for a week.
Fantastic. No, I thought they looked absolutely amazing.
Yeah, really
actually.
good.
Really lovely. Yeah. So that's why we are seeing many more allergies, and it's such a shame. And we're seeing them in very young children as well. And obviously, atopic conditions generally. We're also eczema and asthma are forms of this over-responsiveness by the immune system.
So what can we do then to help our immune system? Are there supplements that we can take? One of the things that I've been tracking recently is Quercetin.
Yes.
And I first came across this with Dr. Tina Pearce, actually, in her work with histamine, looking at Lily and what she could do to help reduce her histamine levels. And Quercetin, and also the histamine response in relation to COVID as well. So taking antihistamines or Quercetin. So I've got one here.
We produce histamine as a response to anything the body sees as a threat, and it's a very useful molecule. I mean, I always think it gets rather vilified at this time of year. We actually need histamine, but we don't want too much of it, and we need to be able to clear it. And Quercetin is very good at damping down the histamine response.
Down too much. So you recommended this to me, I think, last time we spoke, and I happened to mention hay fever. It's called Allergy.
Yeah,
and we'll pop a link up for that. This is something that you often prescribe in your clinic, isn't it?
Yeah, we sell that in our Nature Doc shop, actually. It's a fantastic formula. The reason is that bromelain, which is also in it, which people think is in pineapple, it's actually only in the core of the pineapple. So you do need to be juicing the whole pineapple to get bromelain.
I didn't know that. So the core of the pineapple.
It's only in the core.
Contains
but bromelain helps the quercetin be absorbed more easily, as well as having anti-inflammatory effects itself. Bromelain's very good at clearing up mucus, actually.
Is it?
It works like a proteolytic enzyme to clear up mucus. So it's a very useful formula because I think it's quercetin, vitamin C, and bromelain.
Yes.
And bromelain helps the quercetin, and the quercetin is we can get in foods as well. Quercetin, it's particularly in apples and red onions and elderberry, garlic. It's a lovely flavanol, but unfortunately, I think with hay fever, you would need a bit more than you might be able to get in foods, but definitely top up with foods to get your quercetin.
Funnily enough,
it's a lovely formula, that one.
Interesting that you say that about apples. I wonder how much are in apples, because one of the favourite summer sort of breakfasty brunch type things that I've made for years when I'm feeling hay fevery is I grate an apple, particularly a red-skinned apple, and have it with some plain live yogurt and some sunflower seeds and some almonds, and that actually somehow always made me feel better. So I wonder whether would I have been getting enough of the quercetin? Do you think, from the apple?
Yes, it's probably the apples are probably have the highest content of quercetin of anything we eat. Apples and red onions. So that's probably why.
I wonder whether would it be in the red skin then, if it's in red onions?
If it's red-skinned
apples.
I'd have to check that, but I think
Yeah,
so.
I'm going to go away and look at that because, and I instinctively feel drawn to eat that when I'm feeling hay fevery.
And green tea as well has got quercetin in.
Does it?
Ironically, some people with allergies, particularly pollen allergies and birch tree allergy, which at the moment's a real problem.
Birch tree, that's me.
Some foods cross-react with the pollen, so it means the body mistakes some foods as the pollen that it's already reacting to.
So what sort of things would that be?
So apples, ironically, cross-react with birch pollen a bit. So some people do find they're a bit reactive with raw apple. It's better when it's cooked. And it's a bit ironic that something we might want to eat more of to help dump down the response can cross-react. So that's where the body mistakes that food as the pollen. And this can happen in hay fever later in the season is very much grass-led.
Yes.
And some people find they become quite intolerant to wheat and grasses in their food, sort of barley. And again, that's a cross-reaction with the grass pollen. It's so interesting. Such a shame.
What about the sneezing reaction? Because sometimes if I eat something, for example, I am a little bit sensitive to wheat, not massively, but a little bit. If I eat, say, a piece of toast at the weekend, I'll sneeze.
That's interesting.
Do you think that is that a body's reaction? Can you tell by sneezing?
It can be. There are certain things. So dark chocolate very commonly causes people to sneeze, and then dark chocolate flies out everywhere, which is not very good.
Doesn't make me sneeze, thankfully.
That's a different mechanism. But I would think with wheat, it may be that your body is slightly cross-reacting exactly that and sort of sees it as a trigger, similar to pollen, and causes you to sneeze. I mean, the body's so clever. Unfortunately, though, it is an overreaction. We don't want to be reacting to pollen or wheat or anything. It's such a shame that in our modern lives, our immune systems are becoming less tolerant to so many things that previously wouldn't cause
if we are, I mean, I can see comments here on my Instagram here about people saying when they eat certain things like chocolate, that gets a sneeze reaction. If that is happening, would taking something like quercetin year round, rather than just in the hay fever season, would that help with that reaction? Do you think?
Yes, I think it probably would. And quercetin is safe year round. You do need to probably think about eating foods with lots of B vitamins or supplementing. I hate to always talk about supplements.
Sure.
But,
so why B vitamins then in this case?
B vitamins, because quercetin can slow down. You've been talking to Emma Beswick, haven't you, at Life Code, and I did lots of training in genomics with Emma. And unfortunately, if we take quercetin all year round, it can, or in the longer term, it can affect how we methylate, and we need B vitamins for, and that's how we clear toxins. So we just need to be careful. It can slow down.
Always that balance. So for me, I mean, I'm taking it at the moment because I really feel the benefit of it. I mean, I have to say I've genuinely felt the benefit of taking it during this particular time. And normally at this time of year, I'm living on antihistamines. I'm using like a steroid nose spray, and I'm taking, double dose antihistamines, under the direction of my doctor, and eye drops and all of that. And I genuinely have found that since using quercetin, that has stopped.
And very few side effects, I imagine.
I mean, very few. I'm not using the nose sprays. I'm using the occasional bit of eye drop, and if I go out, for example, I was out running this morning, and I knew that I'd be running somewhere where there was lots of tree pollen and lots of blossom. So I did take an antihistamine as well, just to kind of keep that reaction down, but so much less than it would normally be for me.
And I feel very sad when people are on antihistamines long term, not because it's actually that, sinister a drug to be on. It's actually very safe in the long term. But what we do know, and it's quite new research, is that long-term use of antihistamine actually makes your body produce more histamine, because ironically, by it blocks the receptors, whereas quercetin is inhibiting histamine in a different way, whereas an antihistamine, an H1 or H2 blocker.
Oh my goodness. My stand is leaning. Sorry, I suddenly realised I was so engrossed in our conversation. I'm just going to try and stock it up.
Yeah, antihistamines can cause your body to actually respond by sensing low histamine, and low histamine is not a good thing. We don't want to be too low in histamine. It's actually called histopenia, and it causes depression and anxiety and irritability. We do
really?
want enough histamine.
So histamine is a good thing, isn't it? Because this is what I've been. Histamine is part of our immune response.
Yeah.
Part of our immune system. We need it. It's released by the mast cells.
It's released, and it also helps with digestion, with sleep. It is a neurotransmitter. I mean, it's a chemical that becomes a neurotransmitter, but it's released as well to lower inflammation. But it becomes inflammatory when it's fighting, when the body has sensed the threat, which pollen, unfortunately, in hay fever, the body senses as a threat, and then the body releases histamine. But low histamine is as dangerous and uncomfortable as high histamine.
Right.
So the body, if you're constantly taking antihistamine, senses a loss of histamine, not enough histamine in the body, and will over-respond again to produce, it's called a feedback loop, and respond with more histamine. And it's so ironic. So you end up with actually more problems, and all year round, if you're taking antihistamines for too long time.
Well, the whole subject of histamine, and I've recorded, a podcast on this with Dr. Tina Pears. It's so interesting, because one of Lily's issues, she has this quite serious autoimmune condition linked to high histamine and histamine intolerance. So she is on a very low histamine diet, and unfortunately, histamine is in so much stuff. Anything fermented, all my lovely kefir that I was feeding her with, no, can't have that. Even things like chocolate, which is fermented, coffee, teas, fermented, certain foods, things like tomatoes you can't have because those are high in histamine. Avocados, hugely high in histamine. Interestingly, she is quite seriously allergic to avocados and always has been, and that was the real clue that led us down the histamine path. So anybody, presumably, who's got an avocado allergy or sensitivity, that would be an indication, wouldn't it, that they're not processing histamine. What would you suggest that somebody who is feeling hay fevery goes on a low histamine diet for the summer?
It's very difficult because histamine, as you just explained, is in so many healthy foods, and foods that actually people that really are trying to eat a healthier diet are consuming daily.
Especially in the summer. I mean, we were eating, salads with lots of chopped tomatoes and avocados, not realising that we're having very high histamine foods.
Yeah, just fish. Fish actually produces histamine when it's been, if it hasn't been frozen straight away. But so we do suggest that a low histamine diet just to get someone's symptoms under control. I wouldn't necessarily put someone on a low histamine diet for hay fever, actually, unless they were really struggling or had big exams coming up and could barely see. I think it's not a very healthy diet to be on in the longer term, and there are so many other things we can do to lower that histamine, which probably would take us into a whole nother discussion, but getting our barrier function up in the gut and the lungs, so that the immune system becomes more balanced, checking our vitamin A levels, vitamin D levels.
So why would you be checking vitamins A and D with histamine?
A and D are very important for balancing that Th1, Th2 immune response. So we want to push people more towards the Th1 response, and that naturally then pushes down the Th2 response, which is causing the allergies. So there are various herbs and things and teas that can help push that Th1 immune response. I would do the same for someone with eczema and asthma, all the atopic conditions.
So things like green tea you mentioned before.
Yeah. And then things like reishi mushroom, and very, very important mushroom for hay fever is reishi, but also sun agaricus, or it's sometimes called Agaricus blazei. And those two together, there's lots of new studies. I would add those in second to quercetin.
So what do the reishi mushrooms do?
Well, they're full of beta-glucans, which are very, very helpful at modulating the immune system, a bit like the lactoferrin discussion we had. They're very good modulating. They balance that immune system in a natural way rather than stimulating one branch of it. But they also contain something called tritopene, which is very good at damping down the histamine response, but in a natural way like quercetin does, rather than blocking the histamine receptors like an antihistamine does. So
okay, my goodness, there's so many questions I want to ask you here. So let's just go back one stage. can you explain the difference in the way that these work from taking an antihistamine?
Yes.
So obviously you can take antihistamines, but why would you perhaps want to look at quercetin or reishi instead of?
Yeah, so they are balancing the immune system, so the immune system skews back to a more appropriate response.
Compared to what? So antihistamines do it in...
An antihistamine that's blocking the receptor and just stopping the receptor working and producing histamine. These aren't blocking anything in the body, the mushrooms or quercetin. They're actually just they're regulating the immune system and lowering inflammation, so the body doesn't feel it needs to respond with as much histamine. Right. So it's a much more natural way of stopping so much histamine being released.
Okay.
And there are other things as well, lots of other astragalus I use. I use lots of herbs, tulsi, which is holy basil, which you can buy as a tea. Pukka do a lovely tea.
Yeah, holy basil. Talk to me about holy basil. What's all that about?
I love holy basil. Anyone with anxiety should drink regularly holy basil. It's actually touted more as a sort of, I think Pukka call it clarity, because it's very good for cognition and clearing your mind. But I use it a lot in anxious children, because it's actually quite a nice taste as well. You can add something honey to it, but again, it's just a lovely natural herb. It's actually used a lot in Ayurvedic medicine to damp down it will damp down that overreaction and the histamine response. It's very anti-inflammatory. I love tulsi. So
tulsi and holy basil.
Another one. Raw honey is
raw honey. Okay, so let's talk about honey, because a lot of natural medicine practitioners will say that if you get symptoms of hay fever, you should buy a local honey that's been made by bees locally using your local pollen sources, and take a spoonful, every morning. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I love honey. It's full of.
I love honey too, but why is it specifically? Do you think that's just an old wives' tale, or do you think there's any truth in that?
I've never actually looked into the local thing, but I do agree. But I always thought it was rather lovely to be local, and I always try to buy local anyway. So I've never actually looked into that as to why your local bees might produce honey that's more appropriate for you, but maybe it's because of the environment. I'm not sure. I mean, I've no idea actually, to be honest, but I use honey a lot. I mean, it's such a natural antibacterial, and again, it's just lovely and anti-inflammatory, and adds a bit of sweetness to something like the holy basil tea. So
okay, but it is a sugar though, isn't it? So I mean, we shouldn't fool ourselves. It is going to spike insulin and give us a sugar fix.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the other thing for hay fever that I'm very keen on is bee propolis, which I do tend to supplement people with.
Right, now, this is interesting. So I should just say that we have put a link up to Nature Dog, which is where you work, and people can use that to get all these lovely things. So the C, this is what we talked about first of all. Yep. This is the blend of the vitamin C with the bromelain, which is really interesting, from the core of the pineapple, and the quercetin. This is what I'm taking right now, 2 to 3 capsules, 2 to 4 times a day.
You can go higher on that though. You're totally safe to go much higher. I would even use, even in a young child, 6-year-old, for example, I would use 2 capsules 2 or 3 times a day. I mean, obviously opening the capsules for them because they can't swallow them.
And but just tell me, can you use this for other things other than hay fever? So there have been some questions, for example, about pet allergies or horse allergies.
Oh, definitely. It's the same response, yes. So our allergic response is the same. It just, the trigger is different. So whether you're responding to mold, pollen, pet dander, it doesn't matter. It's the same response. The body is clever, but it's not that clever. It only has a certain amount of inflammatory molecules it can produce, or leukotrienes or cytokines, and therefore, but the histamine is the same response. The release.
And then, presumably, is it safe for everybody? I mean, people like asthmatics and people who are really worried about their allergies and wheezing?
Absolutely. And in fact, the bromelain in it can be very helpful for asthmatics because, as I said earlier, it can help clear up mucus production. Right. So that and NAC I use a lot for people. Some people with hay fever only get eye symptoms, some get the whole gamut, the mouth hideous, coughing, asthma-y symptoms as well as the nasal symptoms. And NAC and bromelain are very good at clearing up mucus. And NAC, which is N-acetylcysteine, which again you can use as a supplement. It's in sulfur foods as well. But
so cysteine, is this the same? We were having a conversation the other day about glutathione, and cysteine came up here. So that would be a similar pathway, would it?
The glutathione is a precursor. Cysteine is a precursor to glutathione. So glutathione is 3 amino acids to produce glutathione, and we make it in the body. But as you've worked out with genetics, you can have certain genetic SNPs that mean you can't make it easily. But cysteine is the precursor. It's an amino acid we get from foods. It's a semi-essential amino acid.
You find it in eggs.
Very.
I was talking hangover cures with Rochelle and Phil on this morning on Monday, and James Martin was in the studio making scrambled eggs, and I said, that is perfect. Because that is obviously try not to get a hangover in the first place, okay, rule number one. But should the worst happen, the next morning, a big, nice plate of scrambled egg full of cysteine is going to help detoxify the acetylhide? What's it called?
Yeah, acetylhides from the alcohol.
From the alcohol.
And eggs are full of choline, which is very helpful for the liver. And we need our liver to be working well.
We do need our liver to be working well.
Talking of liver, we do need the liver to be clearing the histamine. We forget it's all very well talking about damping down the histamine response, which is very useful to get rid of symptoms. But I like to look at sort of a bit more of the root cause, and I want someone's liver to be working well, and methylation pathways to clear the histamine from the body. And the clearance is something we all sort of tend to neglect. Our liver works very hard in this modern life with all the toxins around.
Just a quick question I've seen here. Can you use quercetin if you're pregnant?
Yes,
it's
safe.
It's
a food. I wouldn't use it at such high doses, but it's totally safe.
It's from food, isn't it? And then this other one, just before we come on to talk about bees and propolis, which I'm fascinated by, the other one, which is also from the same company, and I know that we've got the link to this as well through Nature Doc, is this Mega Mag Calmies. I'm actually giving this to my boys at the moment. Both my boys who are at home are on Mega Mag.
Are they doing that?
This is it's
fantastic.
Really good stuff, and I want you to talk us through why it works. Basically, it's a powder. It comes with a little scoop, and it tastes a bit like orangeade. So you just mix. My younger boy has half a scoop, and my older boy has a full scoop. Just a scoop of that in some water, dissolves really quickly, and it turns into like an Orangina type drink. And when you look at all the things in here, it's got magnesium, and then things like glutamine, theanine, taurine, B1, B2, niacin, B5, B6, and vitamin C, with lots of versions of these things. Why have you highlighted this when we're talking about hay fever?
I haven't highlighted that. I'm not. Maybe the Nature Doc.
Oh, you haven't? Maybe they've just sent it to me then.
Yes, you've thrown me on that one. I use it a lot actually, but in people again with anxiety or exam stress.
Okay. Actually, this might have been what I ordered for myself.
I was going to say,
I think I've actually ordered this for myself. But you like this, do you? Because I really like it.
I love it. And the L-theanine in it's very calming. It's good level of magnesium in it, which again is very calming. That's why it's called Mega Mag Calmies. And B6, talking of hay fever, B6 is very good to help us break down histamine. So we need B6, which again is a lovely calming and hormone balancing vitamin, but we need a lot of B6 to help us clear. It helps the DAO enzyme work, which helps us clear the DAO enzyme.
Interesting. Now, I have got a B6 liquid, because I'm doing quite an interesting nutritional protocol with one of my children at the moment for various reasons, which I'll come on to in months to come when I've got some results to share. But as part of that, we're using B6 liquid. So that's obviously just one of the B complex. And normally you'd take B complex, wouldn't you, together, because they work synergistically together. So if for somebody with hay fever, would it be worth then just taking B6 on its own?
Yes. I mean, again, just like you said, I would probably put in a B complex as well, because there are other B vitamins that are very important for histamine as well, for that over-responsiveness. And for clearing histamine through the liver, we need folate, B12, B6, B5.
Right,
B1,
so a multi-B vitamin complex would be...
But I would definitely use possibly some extra B6 on top, yeah. B6 is very important for dreaming. So with children, I often ask them if they dream. And if they hesitate, because a child, we expect to sleep fairly well most of the time, better than us middle-aged women in menopause. But a child, when they've slept well, should know they've dreamt, even if they couldn't tell you the dream.
Really?
And same with that, we should know we've dreamt. And it's a real sign of low B6 if someone hesitates as to whether they dream regularly. They might remember they dreamt 3 weeks ago, but if they say they don't dream regularly every night, and I don't want to know the story of the dream, I just want to know if they dream.
If they're dreaming.
And anyone that hesitates, I put them straight on B6.
On B6. Is there an upper limit? Can you overdo B6?
You, as with all B vitamins, they're water soluble. You do excrete them if you're excess. But B6 can lead to a few nerve problems if you're on it at very high doses in the long term.
So follow the dose on the pack for sure.
Yes, but we can safely use it in the short term at very high doses, actually.
So let's come on to talk about Propolis, because something else that we have linked to through your website is this company called Unbelievable, spelled Believable, Unbelievable. They've sent me some really interesting things here for us to talk about. So there's Daily Defense Immune Formula, and this says coughs, sore throats, high pollen count, travel and more. And this has got bee propolis, black elderberry, one of my favourites, olive leaf, which I'm hearing more and more about olive leaf, beta glucans and acerola cherry. Sounds amazing. Really. I mean, I'm just going to be taking so many more things, but I guess we're just kind of working with the way the body works. We're just surrounded by so many environmental factors now that we weren't over the years, and our food is so depleted in certain things that actually putting certain things back.
Balance the immune system. So again, it's just doing a bit more than just dumping down the symptoms of hay fever. That product, in addition to something like quercetin, helps balance the immune system. And again, it's got the beta glucans that we find in the 2 mushrooms I mentioned. And beta glucans are immune modulation. So
this one, looking at this one, sorry to interrupt you, Max Strength says it's got the bee propolis, the beta glucans, astaxanthin, which is another very interesting nutrient, which I'll talk about in the future, and reishi mushrooms. Yeah, so this has got the reishi mushrooms in it here already.
Yeah, absolutely. So and they're just fabulous formulas, because taking all those individually, we're popping pills all day, and it gets so expensive. Whereas I love that company. They've really put.
I've not heard of them before. This is so it's a British company. Unbelievable, based made in the UK. It says they're based in Hammersmith, and is everything sort of bee based then? Can you see on the label Unbelievable?
Yes, absolutely. It's very much a play on the word bee, yes, they include in each product something either from honey or the bees.
So why would we be using propolis? What's the benefit of propolis? I mean, can you tell us what it is to start with?
It's a resinous mixture that bees use to actually protect their hive, and it's just got these fabulous immune modulating health benefits. So I love the fact bees use it and to help themselves and to help keep their hive protected. It's a fairly hard substance that they use to protect their hive, and yet it has these fabulous immune boosting properties.
So can it help with histamine response then?
Yes, I mean, yes, it can definitely, and just being antibacterial as well, it also is helping the immune system not over respond. But again, it's an antibacterial in a natural way. So yeah, definitely.
So the key things that we need to be doing, I think, as kind of takeaways here, is definitely look at quercetin.
Yeah.
that is definitely a kind of a really strong antihistamine.
Relief, yes.
Yeah, for symptom relief. Look at supporting our immune system with the B vitamins that's helping to kind of detoxify or metabolize the histamine.
Help us clear that histamine as
helping
well.
to clear it, okay.
And then vitamin A and D, but obviously they are fat-soluble nutrients, so we have to be careful with vitamins A and D that we don't get to toxic levels. So definitely under the guidance of a practitioner on those two in the long term, but during the hay fever season, absolutely.
Yes.
And then other things like, I mean, there's
the
so many
reishi
more
mushrooms.
things to talk about. Yeah, reishi and agaricus, all those unbelievable health supplements are good. And then lots of, really just balancing the immune system by, making sure our gut is working well and our liver's working well, because our immune is all housed, 70% of it is housed in the gut. And so if we're, if our gut isn't functioning properly, it is going to make us prone to a leaky gut, and the leaky gut lining leads to to all sorts of inflammatory molecules escaping into the bloodstream.
I think that's a really good point, isn't it? That 70% of our immune system is in the gut. It's held in the gut.
And hay fever is a sign of an imbalanced immune system. We're all busy quenching the symptoms, which of course we need. I've got a son with hay fever, and I can't bear it at exam time when he's suffering. But we need to get rid of those symptoms, but equally we want to look at the underlying causes, and stress levels, sleep, optimizing sleep, lowering stress, getting rid of anxiety, all these things, and diverse diet. I mean, prebiotics are the big news. Probiotics are very useful, but prebiotics are what we should all be aiming to include in our diet so that our gut functions better. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, well, look, there's lots of chat I can see going on Instagram here, particularly about gut. So let's come back and perhaps talk about that another time, shall we?
Love to, yeah. I've got whole new theories on the gut, but we're a lot of us practitioners are treating the gut in different ways now, and it's really exciting. So yeah, lots to talk about.
Oh my goodness, that's a real tease. Okay, well I can't wait. Let's definitely talk about that, because
I just realised we're both in yellow, aren't we? How
we
funny.
are. Well, it's in, and I've even got my yellow mug. It's in respect for the bees.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh well, thank you, Liz. Lovely to see you.
Oh, thank you, and you work with Nature Doc.
I do. I'm not involved in the shop, but we sell most of those things I've talked about today.
Yeah, which we put a link to, so you can go and find them all. And I know Lucinda Miller, who is the original founder, of Nature Doc, who just works so well with children, particularly. That's her bag, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm one of the adult practitioners, so if everyone wants to follow @Nature.Kids on Instagram, then you'll see all of
Okay, and you're on Instagram. Remind us of your handle on Instagram.
Well, you see, mine is a sort of personal account. I see so many clients day in, day out, but I've never set up a professional account. So actually, all my work is done through Nature Doc. So
Nature Doc is the adult one, and Nature.Kids is the kids one to follow.
There's no Instagram for Nature Doc adult, but our website at naturedoc.co.uk is full of information about all the practitioners and what we do.
Great. So. And it's so interesting, I have to say, this whole rise in functional medicine and just how we can learn more about our own bodies and really tailor make it to us, because it's a bit like HRT, there's no one size fits all. It's very much about using different elements, and I'm sure that lots of people today will have found so much of that so helpful for them or their families who are just struggling at the moment with the endless runny nose and sneezes, and it's awful. It just sounds so mild, but actually it can really take over your life, can't it? When you've got bad hay fever.
So many people it's so debilitating for so many people, and there are lots of other things we haven't talked about that we can do to avoid the pollen in our environment, but that's they're more basic things like wearing sunglasses and not hanging or washing out and things like that. All the things. I think your Earle Wellbeing, you've got
we have got a piece on that, actually. I'll make sure that perhaps goes up onto the homepage soon.
Really good tips
but you're absolutely right. I love pegging out my washing, but actually if you do it on a breezy day when there's lots of pollen blowing around,
then you'll bring it into the house with a lot of pollen.
Not so clever.
Bring in pollen pollen too, unfortunately. You need
Pets
to,
bring in
yes.
pollen, yeah, and keeping your doors and windows shut. I remember when I was really bad, even in the heat of the summer, I'd have to sleep with my bedroom windows closed, to try and keep the
They're
pollen
very
out.
good barrier creams. Again, we sell them on the Nature Doc shop that can help line the nostrils and under the eyes as well to stop the pollen getting in and sticking.
That's really good. Yes, I need to look at that. I have seen some of the ones that you dab under the nose, like almost like a Vaseline type thing.
It's a good one, yeah. And there's a new kids one out, I think.
Is there?
They're really helpful, and children can do it themselves in the playground before they go out. Or,
really good. I'll definitely take a look. Thank you so much, Emma. It's lovely to see you again.
Lovely to see you. See you soon.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Right.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
I think you have to leave me because otherwise I might cut everybody off. Wasn't that just so interesting? Oh my goodness. I love my job. I love being able to talk to super informed, interesting people about things that are safe and effective and easy and can really help. Can really, really help make a difference. And, a lot of this, I have to say, is driven, by my own personal needs and requirements. And when I find that something is affecting me really badly or somebody in my family, I'm thinking, chances are there are others out there who are really badly affected who could do with this. So there is a piece on hay fever on the Earle Wellbeing website. So we will keep that updated because lots and lots to say. So just to say, I'm thrilled that Emma said that she'll come back and talk about gut health and leaky gut and all of that, because that's so interesting. Lots of information, of course, about that in my Good Gut Guide book. So don't forget, you can get that at the moment, the Good Gut Guide book. Signed copies, which are sent from my farm, come with our free little pack of notebooks. Okay, we've got our 3 little notebooks here. I've got them here. Let me just show you. In fact, funnily enough, look, there's a kind of a pink honeycomb in respect to the bees. Can you see? Isn't that pretty? This one says on it, positive vibes only. So we only write the good stuff in that one. This one is live, love, laugh. And then this little one here, my favourite with the rose on it, just says and breathe. So these, we're actually selling them in packs of 3 on the website. They're £7.50 for a pack of 3, but you get them free with every signed book. And that includes the Good Gut Guide, which has so much about, irritable bowel syndrome, or disorder, acid reflux, lots of gut health, leaky gut, all of that. And of course, lots more besides, all the link with mental health and our immune system. As Emma reminded us, 70% of our immune system coming in the gut. And then the other one, of course, that we've got is the Earle Wellbeing Yearbook. Fairly sure that there are lots of honey and bee recipes in this particular issue. I will have to look them up and put them online. Oh, so many good things, and it's making me hungry just flicking through it, actually. And then, of course, always I've got my copies of the Good Menopause Guide. Yeah, I do have bees. I don't actually do the beekeeping myself. I have a local guy who comes in, who's the expert and comes in with all the kit and everything. But yeah, I do get my own honey, which is so nice. And I just always try and support local beekeepers. If I'm in a village shop, I'll try and find a jar of local honey that's been made by a real beekeeper looking after the bees out in the wild where we need them. We don't want to buy honey from these like bee factories, because that's not the point. The point of bees is that they're amazing pollinators and they're really part of our environment, and we need to support them and give them nice environments that they can buzz around in and pollinate. So anyway, so that is all that. So just to say that we have got a link to the Nature Doc shop if you want to go and have a look at all the things that they have. But microbes, talking about gut health, this was the one that when I was live with Katie on Monday, again, it's good colour coordination, isn't it? The yellow one here. The BioLive Revive. This is the one that has the slippery elm, so really good for gut. And we were talking about leaky gut as well with that. So this is the one to start with, perhaps, if you haven't tried any of the microbes. I love it. Absolutely, genuinely love it. That's why it's a Liz Loves, because it's genuinely loved. So 20%, they've given us extra discount, but just for this week. I think it ends on May the 3rd. So really, rush to get that. I'm going to be stocking up. Microbes with a Z at the end. .co.uk, I think. Yeah, microbes.co.uk. And then also the one, because I finished that one, I've now moved on to this one, which is the BioLive Gold, which I'm also really, really enjoying. Just a spoonful in the morning. That's all it takes. And I'm a big fan. And I've been using their probiotic cleaning products. So really good. I was out last night with my friend Anthea, who is a big on household cleaning. She's the absolute ultimate domestic goddess, and we were having long conversations about cleaning our homes and oven cleaners and all of that, as you do. Oh dear. Anyway, that is just about it for today. Just to say that you can, I've just got a note here, also the Met Office do give you a pollen warning. So you can look online for the daily pollen count, and that's quite helpful, I guess, if you're planning your day and seeing, you know, what it might be like going out and about. A couple of things that we've got online. We've got a whole feature called What is Histamine Intolerance? So I think maybe, Lainey, you can pop a link up to that on Facebook if you haven't done already. So what is histamine intolerance? And then there's another one, a podcast with Dr. Tina Pearce, who's this amazing medic who's doing a lot of work with histamine and the immune system. And that one, it's on the Earle Wellbeing Show podcasts. And if you put in Dr. Tina Pearce, or histamine intolerance, or Earle histamine intolerance, I'm sure it will come up there, or you can find them all on the Earle Wellbeing website. There's been quite a nice response actually to some of the posts that I've been doing recently about home stuff with Oka. You may know Oka, the British brand, OKA. I put a picture up, I think it was either yesterday or the day before, of these really lovely mugs, beautiful mugs from Oka. And we've got 10% off everything at Oka with Liz Loves. But of course, they also sell the most amazing fake plants. I've got like a fake Swiss cheese plant at home. So, you know, and fake flowers, beautiful bouquets of, you know, faux flowers. I suppose we should say faux, shouldn't we? Sounds better than fake, but, you know, artificial flowers. And they are great if you are really suffering with pollen and not being able to bring certain flowers inside. I mean, I love having narcissi in the house, but they make me sneeze every time I walk past a bowl full. So actually having some faux flowers there. And of course they last year after year after year. So it's the kind of the gift that keeps on going there. So if you are not already a subscriber to the magazine, don't forget that you need to get on the list pretty sharpish if you want to make the new one, if you want to make that print run. So this is the current one, okay? So this is, we're bi-monthly, if anybody doesn't know, so every 2 months you get your copy. This one is March, April, so May, June is being printed right now and will be going into the mail quite soon. So, you know, in the next week or so you can expect to receive yours. I'm going to be so excited to hear. Do please send me a comment on my Instagram. I don't do direct message, but I do look at my comments. And if anybody wants to post a picture of them, you know, where their new magazine has arrived to, then please do let me know. But it would be a really good idea to subscribe if you haven't done already, because now we only print specific numbers, because we're not in any shops anymore. So if you want to get the magazine, then you do need to subscribe to it. And there is a discount, okay? You get a free issue, basically. So it's just 6 times a year, but you only pay for 5 issues, but you receive 6. And in the UK, you get free postage and packing as well. So what's not to love? There you go. So just a couple of other questions. Lots of people here are using glutathione now. They've been taking glutathione. I mentioned that was with Youth and Earth. That was this time last week, actually. I was with the founder of Youth and Earth, Ed, and he has given us a great discount as well. Liz Loves on everything at Youth and Earth. So nice. A couple of comments here from YouTube. Lindsay saying, you've changed my life in such positive ways, and in turn I've been able to help others. Well, that is really good, isn't it? Just love that. Really, really love that. On Instagram, a comment, I'm not sure if this was made today, it's just been added to my notes here. Liz, I need you on a constant loop at my house to remind me to eat, drink and do all the wonderful things you do. Well, I don't know about that, but there is certainly a lot that we can do that is really positive and healthy. And it's the good stuff. It's adding good stuff in. Don't have to give up too much. You really don't. Cut down on the sugars and the carbs. A little bit of raw honey instead, perhaps. And so many lovely good things. So I will be back here live with you on Friday. So another really good chat planned on Friday. I hope that you'll tune in live. I've got... what have I got going out tomorrow? We've got a new YouTube vlog that goes up, so make sure that you're subscribed to the Earle Wellbeing YouTube channel. Thanks for all the comments on there, by the way. It's just been amazing, that whole community on YouTube. is really helping each other, particularly with the menopause series, and that has just been so incredibly popular. So newsletter goes out on Friday. Make sure you're on the list if you want to receive that. That goes out every Friday, lizearlewellbeing.com. And I've got my Friday 5 podcast as well. So, oh my goodness, lots and lots. Yeah, this dress is from Oliver Bonas. It's really cheery, isn't it? I'm going to call it my bee dress or my honey dress, I think. I think it just sits really nicely with, this kind of open neckline shirt dress style with my little neroli flower, which bees love as well. Orange blossom honey, amazing, made from bees collecting neroli. Anyway, sending you lots of love. I hope you've enjoyed today, and big hearts back. Thank you. Thanks for all those hearts. And I'll see you again very soon. Bye.